Thank you, Henry. Okay, so yes, as I was saying, welcome to the second in this series about localization, where we're bringing we're so excited how many people are coming along from all over the country to talk about what we're all up to and how to help each other with the common challenges that come up when we're doing this work. To start off, I'd like to acknowledge that all of us are on Aboriginal country, and pay our respects to elders past and present. And I guess acknowledge that the Indigenous people here were the first doing localization projects, and they did it really well, and they lived sustainably with the land for uncountable generations. And so we have a lot to learn from them. And yeah, we should keep supporting them in their fight for sovereignty. Sovereignty has not been ceded. So yeah, my name's Anisa. I'm one of the people in the NENA Localisation Hub, and I'm also part of Degrowth Network Australia. And I'm facilitating this with Henry from the Hub and Local Futures. So we're going to start off like this specific session is about communicating localization. So I'm sure a lot of you have experience about trying to communicate with people why this is so important and kind of, get people involved and help people to stay involved. So that's what we're focusing on for this session. So Henry will start us off talking a little bit about that. And then we've got a couple of projects that we're really excited to hear about from Joe and Tali about their project and kind of the successes and difficulties that they've been having communicating the great work that they're doing. And we will also throw it up to the floor. If there's somebody who wants to jump in and do a 5-minute chat, then we have space for one more. So if that's you, have a think about it. And then after that, we're going to do some breakouts. We really think it's important for everybody to have the chance to talk a bit to each other because, there's so much knowledge in the room. So we'll try and break you out with people that live near you. Maybe you'll even know them, which would be lovely, or you'll get to know some new people. And then we'll come back together and have a kind of big all-in conversation where people can bring their issues and bring their comments. And then we'll wrap up and tell you about next month's session. So thanks so much. I'll pass over to you, Henry.
Thanks, Anisa. And thank you everyone for joining and for so many for coming back from the session a month ago. I love the continuity. I think that's really important. So I'm really grateful. I'm Henry. I'm from Local Futures. We are campaigning to raise awareness about localization globally. And one of the reasons why I find localization a an important framework is that it can help in our experience, in my experience, it can actually help bridge divisions between people and a vision of a vision that is community oriented, that is about the is along the lines of rebuilding local prosperity, local economy. It's the kind of message that can breach beyond just a kind of green bubble or just a social justice bubble and engage people who otherwise might not be might not consider themselves particularly radical or whatever it is. So I think in this time of division that we're in, communicating localization is a challenge of large scale political significance, as well as being of micro level urgency, because rebuilding the networks of local economies and mutual support at the local level is obviously something that can support people's real needs, especially in times of crisis, in times of climate crisis or economic crisis. There are these real reasons why people are coming together at the local level and we hear so many inspiring stories. Some of the most inspiring stories that we hear from the localization movement around the world are how it has helped bridge people who would otherwise be disconnected, isolated, and only reading about one another in a divisive corporate media. So we have examples of immigrant communities coming together with traditional farming, like people from a kind of conservative farming background to revive a town or to um, make sure that the school can continue operating or the post office to continue operating. Um, or where they might meet someone at face to face at a local farmers market where your shopkeeper or the person you're going to get your daily bread might be of a different background. And the local market itself, the localization um, hub itself can serve to build bridges between people who are otherwise divided and isolated from one another. And there's an amazing story of from up here where I am on Bundjalung country, near Lismore, of a local food initiative that actually engaged an immigrant community from Grafton because they were growing this community was from Pacific Islands, and uh, in the subtropics here on Bundjalung country, they were actually growing crops like cassava, like taro, that they were not selling to the supermarket because the super or the because people around here might not know how to use those products. So they connected with an immigrant community from Grafton and made these got together and had a festival where they shared recipes of how to prepare that cassava. And all that to say that I think localization offers us the opportunity to go beyond single issues, to break out of the silos that we've been put in, and communicate a vision for radical change that can also engage people who might care about the jobs in their small town. You know, it's not just a kind of urban green kind of community that might connect with this, although of course that's a really important part of it as well. So today we're going to be looking at what challenges you might have with communicating localization, and getting people on board who might come from a different worldview than yourself. And that's because when we sent out our initial survey, a lot of the responses came back saying, I'm struggling to get people involved, to engage people who don't know, why the hell I care so passionately about this. So we're going to discuss that today, and I appreciate everyone being here to do that with us. I think it will be a good opportunity. So, Anisa, did you want to add to that?
No, I feel like you said that so well. Yeah, I don't actually have anything to add. I mean, actually, no, sorry. People often say that and then they think of something while they're saying that. So, I did that. I think it is really interesting to think about the different ways that we communicate. And I'm personally from the Degrowth Network, and I find the framing of degrowth as like a system change, economic framework a really useful way to communicate it. But for me, it's a useful way to communicate to people who are already on board, who already kind of have some understanding. And I've learned pretty quickly, and from other people, you don't go use the term degrowth when you've just met someone, at the union or at the pub or, my conservative uncle over Christmas. So these are the kind of things that we can learn about communicating. And for me, one of the best things that I've found is to try and connect to someone on their values. So even, talking to somebody who's very different to me, try and find out what they care about. And as a lot of you know, localization is such a broad thing, which is so important for so many different issues that you often can find something that works. But I'm excited to get you all talking and hear more about what's happening for you. So I'm going to work on these breakout rooms. It is a bit more technically difficult than it has been before. So if any, oh, sorry.
I think little invasion into your flow, but are we going to hear from the
Oh,
from
yes.
projects first?
Thank you. I'm thinking so hard about where are all these people and how to put them in the breakout rooms. Thanks, Henry. This is why you have a co-facilitator, everyone. They're very useful. So I did see Tali before.
Yes, from
Wanna-
Push Technic up there.
Yes.
Yeah, welcome, Tali. Would you like to share about your project and maybe touch on the issue of the day as well, which is communicating localization?
Thank you. Yes. So happy to be here, and yeah, great to have this opportunity to share a little bit of our journey as Bush Technique. So yeah, firstly wanting to acknowledge that I'm sitting in the country of Turrbal and Yagara peoples up in Mugginjern, which is otherwise known as Brisbane or Bris Vegas. And so essentially, I would love to. I found it quite difficult to distill what it is that I'd love to share tonight, because it is so multifaceted. It's a bit like a gemstone. When you turn it one way, it's the same story, but it looks a bit different from this angle and this angle. And but essentially, I'll give it my best shot. So in case you haven't heard of us, I'd be surprised if you had, because we're just little. We're Bush Technique, and we've been around for about 10 years now, just on 10 years, running a chemical-free project in bush regeneration. So we're my brother and I started it, and we've evolved in that time to have a crew of 12 at present. And we work across all spheres of working with landholders and working with community groups, working with governments on all different levels in that space of ecological restoration. And from the get-go, we come out as a 100% herbicide-free company, which unfortunately is quite rare. And yeah, it's been a big journey, like full of challenges and full of successes. So when I reflected on what to speak about tonight, every time we've been thinking about the challenges, yeah, equally on the same page as the opportunity for success of how to overcome those challenges. So they're very interlinked. So yeah, effectively we're here to change the paradigm of chemical use in ecological restoration, or in caring for country. We just actually would love to see that there's no poison being put anywhere. And we'd really love to inspire conscious connected earth care within the community and across networks. And with that very strong, clear ethos, it's presented some wonderful opportunities for learning about approaches, the traditional, how do we define traditional? Because obviously pre-1970s, there wasn't this herbicide being applied anywhere. People were just farming or caring for country in deep, yeah, excuse me, I get very nervous around these things. But basically, yeah, in deep relation to place. And yeah, somehow it's got all caught up in capitalism, and we're not going to get into that. So the ecological challenge for us, so there's a few different things I can chat about in this small space. And one is around addressing those challenges, the ecological challenge that we have in our workplace on the daily, but also when we're presenting workshops, or when we are speaking with potential clients or existing clients in levels of government, and they're asking us to compromise on our values and ethics, and how do we overcome that. I could also speak about the challenges that we have in working with people, with working in a team, and the way that we come together from all of our differences, and celebrating these differences whilst trying to maintain a momentum and a focus in the project. I can also talk about the challenge of time and scale. So yeah, are there, out of those three different...
I would personally love to hear about the first.
Mhm.
You mentioned communicating to like your local governments and stuff about how to do things differently.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. as you were saying, Anisa, just before, staying strong on your values is really key, I think, and communicating your messages across many different levels of many different sort of groups of people and levels of understanding, I think, is also key. We've always taken the approach of, by the way, I'm personally, and also my brother, we've got people from all walks of life on our team, but we've come from a place of heart where we've, through observation, we've built up our skills and our knowledge base. We didn't learn this stuff in university. We literally self-motivated, coming into this space. So when we run workshops or any sort of opportunity for engagement in the community or with stakeholders, etc., we keep our language pretty plain, and we've had to learn a lot of nomenclature along the way and a lot of fancy technical terms in that space. But when we are running workshops and talking to people, we really try to, just as you were saying, Anisa, not talk about degrowth, but just keep it sort of making sure we're coming from our heart the whole time. And I think that's really powerful as well. It's a powerful message on no matter who you're speaking with, whether you're talking to federal sort of constituents of a project that I was last week, or whether you're talking to someone who's never heard of bush regeneration and would love to learn. So being really clear in your vision and your message, I think, is a challenge, and when you can overcome that challenge. So our vision is to inspire conscious connected earth care within the community and across networks, and keeping that really clear in our minds and in our hearts allows us to basically find common ground with people, and they might not agree on certain elements such as herbicide, but we're certainly always driving towards that connection within the community and across networks. Like I feel that one of our 3 recent where's my little notes? 3 bold and golden visions for bush technique is around emboldening the field, the industry, or the community of bush regeneration to say no to the use of herbicide. And I think a big part of that is to keep on networking really strongly and utilizing your network. So the people that were early champions of us within council, for example, within local government, ensuring that we're maintaining those relationships and just keeping it really human and staying really friendly in those spaces. And yes, agreeing to disagree a lot of the time or some of the time, but continually evolving and innovating those discussions, bringing in new ideas and, oh, have you heard about this? Or, this is what somebody's doing in Aotearoa around this particular challenge that we're looking at. And yeah, basically bringing in, for me, I feel that there's a great urgency in the concept of capitalism, and you guys touched on that last month, where everyone has to, and productivity is all about now and the doing things. So making the best bang for your buck. And when it comes to ecological restoration, we're talking about, oh, the park, it's got weeds, we need to spray it so the weeds are gone, but not really understanding the deeper levels of microbial disruption, both in the soil, into the insect and arthropod life, into the pollinators and all the greater animals, including our kids and our dogs running around in those very same parks. So it's on a huge scale, and the more like little points you can make along the way in those conversations with people, I think it's like a really slow but short trickle of inspiration and knowledge to them that, oh yeah, maybe we don't, maybe we can't, like, basically I'm trying to embolden people around me to also take the stance of maybe we need to look at different alternative to herbicide and chemical use.
Thanks so much, Tali. I'm wondering, can you wrap up? Sorry,
Yeah.
just gentle little thing.
That's okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess overall it is about collaboration over competition. So always working with with people, with industry, and trying to find that common ground, and effectively really advocating for the local approach. So living your local and learning your local and loving your local is a really strong sort of stance that I love to promote, no matter who I'm talking to. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. Yeah, I love that. Living the local. What was that? Living the local, loving the local, learning the local?
Yeah, you can say it in
Yeah.
whatever order, but live your local, learn your local, and love your local.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like you're really rekindling that local knowledge, as well as the big picture vision for your community. So thank you so much for sharing tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And was Joe, you're up next. Would you like to share what you're doing in your place?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, excellent. I'm in the middle of Adelaide Airport. So apologies if you can't hear me that well. It's been a bit of a wild afternoon and evening. So yeah, my name's Jo Taranto. I live in Sydney, normally on Wallumattagal land. I am the founder of Good for the Hood, which is a social enterprise that works with local governments to help communicate and embed environmental solutions in hyper-local ways. And been doing that now for, well, this is our 7th year. And we work, oh, thank you. We work with through councils for residents to be a voice of, I guess, resident to resident solutions. We use experts, but also inspired, I guess, trusted messengers who have done things to communicate to their peers. We use a lot of online sessions, even though that's pretty difficult. We know that it's just exactly like this. It's an opportunity for people to connect with solutions from the comfort of their own homes. So we've now worked with somewhere between 200 and 300 local government areas around Australia. So there's about 570 nationally. So we've definitely worked with most New South Wales and Victorian councils, a lot of them, some South Australian, a couple of Queensland councils. We've never done anything in Northern Territory, but I obviously can get there. And we primarily look at starting where people are, not necessarily where we want them to be. So whilst you know, we know that climate crisis needs quick, embedded solutions, we also recognise that, just like was said before, a lot of people are not ready for what that might mean. So we will work with where people are, what's important to them. Maybe that's saving money, maybe it's growing their own food, maybe it's connecting with their neighbours. We'll try to find ways that we can connect with that. And we would encourage everyone to jump on to our website and see if we're working with a specific program in your area. We get people to match their postcode, and that will tell you whether we run a program called At Home in your area. And that is an online education program. If not, we often do other sessions through local governments as well. I guess on the back of and I'll share the link in a sec, but on the back of what we're talking about in terms of communication, the other part of my life is that I am a freelance sustainability communicator. So I work on podcasts, TV, facilitate, present, all those sorts of things. Anything to get the message to more people, I will be there and I'm part of that. So a lot of climate, a lot of circularity, a lot of localization, embedding repair, embedding, I guess I don't call it degrowth, but certainly slowing our consumption down is certainly a conversation that some people are ready for and others are not. So, but yeah, I definitely think that we need to communicate in ways that reach people where they are right now, and also, I guess, inspire them to take steps to do more to, yeah, to solve some of the problems that we are all facing. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to share tonight. I've been following along with the work that you all do, and whilst I won't be able to stay for the breakout rooms, I'm hoping yeah, I can connect with a few more people through tonight. I know a few familiar faces and names on the call, so it's great to see you too.
Thanks so much, Joe. Yeah, I appreciate you being here and following what we're doing with the NENA Localisation Hub. Thanks so much. Hope your travels go all right. Sounds a bit hectic, but we heard you loud and clear. Yeah, so cheers. And yeah, I'm going to ask if someone is feeling like super brave or super, I don't know, just happy and wanting to jump in. If you want to raise your hand and introduce, like it can be your physical hand or your virtual hand, which is underneath the reactions tab at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, okay, Kevin Woods, I see you raise your hand there. But yeah, would you like to share a bit about what project you might be involved in?
Yeah, certainly would, and thank you very much for the opportunity. Basically, my brother and I, and a couple of others, but more my brother and I at the moment, we were actually 80% or 85% of the way through preparing the Victorian replacement of the Victorian state constitution, which will have referendum tape for this year. So we're actually doing all constitutions of all the states to bring them all in line together, which the reason for mentioning, not only will you all be voting in a referendum, but you all get a chance to see these constitutions when I get some money to put it up on the website. And naturally, it covers a lot of issues that have been talked not only tonight, but on a lot of sites that I've been involved with. So I just thought I might talk about that for just about another minute. What I've found over the last 12 months in putting out a concept like this is that because state constitutions are not very common, in fact, Victoria's only ever had one referendum in 1956. And most people are very unaware because they've only ever heard of the concept of a federal constitution. And they don't realise the power that these constitutions have in Australia. So I just thought I might make a mention on that people don't generally recognise, including lawyers, the power of constitutions in this country. And that by redoing these constitutions and bringing the people to the highest power, they don't realise the power it will have to make changes. So I just thought I might mention that because we've had a very interesting run over the last 12 months of helping to try and deliberate over 300 provisions that we're putting in. And we're now up to page 423 of the Constitution. So I just thought I might let you know we've had a bit of a good run, but it hasn't been a very good run at all because out of 423 pages and 350 or so provisions, one response out of 72 came back because most people are very busy or they find this a little bit daunting to them. And we write this in basic English, not legalese. So I just thought I might mention that out of local futures and many other things that are going on, that we understand that people themselves are finding it very difficult to communicate with us, let alone to want to see the value in constitution. And we understand it's a very rogue topic. It's a bit out there sometimes. I just thought I might mention that. It's just been a very interesting journey, and noticing what you guys are doing in regard to NENA's hubs. I was in touch with Michelle last year about this.
Thanks.
And what's been said before about common problems what people do, you're all right with what you said, because the common problems we have is a language barrier. And it's the same with any topic you bring out. Plus also the awareness on things. The people don't generally value what they don't generally understand in a lot of ways. I'll leave it there. I don't need to go on any further. I just thought I might introduce, because we've had a lot of trouble as well, trying to just get the most basics out there, to review a provision on fracking or whatever it is, or animal sanctuaries. It's absolutely amazing, the impressions and the experiences we've had. But hopefully by the end, hopefully in the next few months, we'll finish the human rights and all of those. So look for public websites, and there will be an opportunity for all people to have a look for a few months. And hopefully you'll be able to find something in there that you might be able to provide feedback, or if not, you might be able to help us out in different ways, or if not, we'll be finalising them. But thank you anyway, and thanks for your time, okay?
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, thanks for jumping in and for sharing what sounds like a very big project. So, Anisa, can I hand over to you now?
Yes, you can. Okay, I've attempted to, this is actually quite a fun project. I've attempted to put you all into breakout rooms with people that hopefully live near you. I probably made some mistakes, so if you're not in some, you're just going to have to have fun with the people you're in a room with. There is about 4 or 5 people who I don't know where you live. So if you don't get a thing that pops up, then just either take yourself off mute or let me know. But yeah, so for the next 10 minutes, we really want you all to have a chance to chat to each other, get to know what's happening for each of you, hopefully with these places nearby. And we've even got a slide deck. So if there's someone in your room that feels like taking notes, then you can open up this slide deck and take some notes so that everyone can see what you've been talking about and we can see who's in the room. But this is your chance that if you are part of a localization group, you can practice giving your pitch to the other people in your group, and then hopefully there'll be some time for joining, for conversation and kind of helping each other, and feel free to ask each other tricky questions. This is a supportive space. So I'm going to open them up. Oh, yes, Sharon, I do know where you live. And then we'll see what happens. So have fun. See you in about 10 minutes. And oh yeah, Maggie, where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Ballarat.
Oh, cool. Okay, I'll put you in the Central Vic crew. Have fun.
Thanks.
And then I think everyone else, yeah, feel free to just hang out here, or you can chat to me. Robert, I think I put you in a Sydney one. So hopefully you can jump in there. Oh. Melinda, I'm not sure if you wanted to jump in somewhere, but
Hi, thank you. It's Melinda. Yeah, I'd love to go in a group.
where are you based?
I am far north Queensland, like
Oh, great. I'll chuck
yeah,
you with the Queenslanders. Have fun.
yeah, okay. Any northern Queenslanders would be good too.
Yes, I think there is one. So
Okay.
Robert, did you want to jump in? There is someone else from Sydney.
Sorry, yes, can't get into it.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll move you and then I'll move you back to the Sydney one. Did that work? Is there a nice? And then Colleen and Mary, you two just wanted to chill. So that's all good. Phew. I'll pause this.
organisation.
Which one?
Sorry to pull you all out of your conversations. I love that you must have all been having good chats because none of you came back until you were all forced. So that's probably a good sign. And I think this is kind of an experiment we're doing about trying to create this space for people to link up with people doing similar things nearby. So look forward to hearing your feedback. If it's working, we'll keep going. But this next section, we wanted to have a chat with everyone here. So Henry, did you want to facilitate this bit or do you want me to?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll just introduce it by saying the topic of growth and of growth is coming up a lot as far as I can hear. And I think it's really important to remember in this time when so many people are realizing that they're struggling just to put food on the table and a roof over their head, that we can come with a message of actually, while we do want to absolutely degrow the insanity of the global system, there are two systems. There's the global system that needs to shrink, but there's so much growth potential at the local level in terms of literally growing more food per acre, providing more jobs. And someone was talking about that in our session, providing actually greater prosperity. So in terms of monetary return as well, like if those localized infrastructures and networks were supported, identified, and actually subsidized or actually regulated in favor of, you could create a flourishing and a growth of genuine prosperity, jobs, and real food, and all sorts of things that we actually need, basic human needs, at the local level. So I think reframing growth can be an asset to the localization movement. And I wonder if anyone wants to either comment on that or bring up some of the points that came up in their breakout rooms, or any sticky issues, questions, concerns, criticisms, or queries with this framing. Malcolm, go ahead. Just unmute yourself, please.
Doing the right thing and staying mute and then forgetting. Coming from what you're saying about degrowth driving towards localization, I tend to think of it the other way around, because localization is not a controversial thing to talk about, whereas degrowth is, because everybody thinks we're all going back into the cave. Now, in fact, the two are closely linked together, because if you localize, you can metamorphose into degrowth by virtue of the benefits of localizing. You're taking part of the economic growth variables out of the equation, and it becomes a different equation. It doesn't say we've got to continue increasing GDP by 2% a year. We then can use a coefficient of happiness instead.
Thanks, Malcolm. Do people want to respond? Jane, go ahead. Literally just unmute and speak. I don't need to be central person, middleman.
No, I need that. Just a small comment. I suppose what you were saying about localization being good growth, and it's the global side that we need to degrow or change our emphasis from. I was just thinking of the degrowth concept, which is about pulling back from bad growth and growing the good things that benefit community. And localization is very much the way to do that, because things need local solutions in many respects, and local decision making, and adjusting it for your own bioregion and all that sort of thing. So it's not it's, well, I suppose that brings up a question about economic growth in terms of exponential growth versus growth within a local economy, so what are we talking about growing in that sense? We're talking about growing well-being, I suppose, if you want to pull it in that way.
I'd also add, we're talking about growing real jobs, livelihoods, more affordable housing, more, practical things as well, like well-being, of course, but outside of the consumer economy, there is we can talk about growing, real productivity, using land resources, energy in a way that produces more per unit of, so that's just something. But sorry, I jumped in because Kylie had your hand raised.
So just wondering about that. So we're talking about growth in terms of increasing productivity. I mean, should the whole concept of growth be removed and reframed? Because once we get back into that, yes, we want healthy, livable communities where people can afford their housing and can live there, and that requires a huge amount of change. And what you're doing by creating local systems of sharing is keeping that, and more local, is keeping wealth or wealth, because we don't want to get into a product so much per unit thing, because then we're getting into the whole mindset of we've got to increase that productivity, and then we go back to the same lock-in of using of throughput, which is the big no for climate change. I mean, if we're thinking about, it's complex, because we don't want a growth mentality. We want a good living mentality.
It's a great conversation. Kylie, would you like to comment on it?
Yeah, it's interesting. A couple of years ago, I took a few weeks off between jobs and had lots of conversations about where the world was going, and I had the concept of degrowth in my head, but no one was ready to hear the word degrowth. It just, as people have said in this chat, it does something to people. And where I got to was kind of this theory that I'd grown up in a society of more, and mine. And so it was all about having more and being more. You need to be richer, skinnier, prettier. You need to buy that new thing. You need to have the latest car, a bigger house, more. And there's no end point to more. And it's not doing our planet any favors, and it's not doing our mental health and well-being any favors. And so I kind of got to the opposite of more, and mine to me is enoughness. And so it's about, I am enough. I am skinny enough and pretty enough and rich enough and smart enough. I'm fine. Don't need to buy things to be more. I have enough as long as I have food on the table and a roof over my head and people around me. I have enough, and I do enough, which is, I'm still struggling with that bit. Most social entrepreneurs do, but and it's not about mine, it's about ours. And what's really fascinating is to watch the change in people as if you stop chasing more and start chasing enough, then once you've got enough, you make sure that your family has enough, and then you make sure that your neighbors have enough, then you make sure that your community have enough, and you naturally have a local focus, because that's what you can influence and see. And so I think, I don't know, when I'm talking to newbies to these concepts, I find that enoughness seems to sit better, and something clicks and people are able to embrace that, where degrowth sounds scary and like I have to give something up.
And can I also ask you to share what you shared in the breakout room about instead of thinking about scaling up, about multiplying or scaling out? What did you?
Yeah, so I run the Social Enterprise Council of New South Wales and ACT. So a social enterprise is a business that puts people and planet first. They trade like any other business. They sell things, but they exist specifically to make the world a better place. And I shared in the breakout room, there's about 12,000 across Australia. It's not a small thing anymore. And it's sort of been hailed as, it has been hailed as the economic model for the future by the United Nations, OECD, European Union, etc. So social enterprise is a big concept now. And what's one thing we're seeing in the social enterprise world, so businesses that are putting people and planet first, is that they're tending not to scale. They're not, some of them have tried it and are now trying to step back from that. Scaling is not the friend of businesses that are truly putting people and planet first. So what they're doing instead is replicating. And so what we're seeing is a social enterprise that works really well in, say, Wollongong. You can take the best elements of that and gift the recipe, as it were, to Arnhem Land or Tasmania or Canberra or wherever, but that community is going to put their own flavour on it and it's going to be stronger for it. So Tender Funerals is a beautiful example of a social enterprise started in Wollongong. It's a not-for-profit community funeral service. I could go on about the funeral industry and how awful it is, but they've set up a social enterprise franchise, and it's really transparent. $50 per funeral goes back to head office, as it were, and they run the marketing, the finance, etc. But they say, like, here are our 5 non-negotiables. It has to be transparent, it has to be affordable, etc. After that, you do what's right for your community. A social enterprise can be any legal structure, to answer the question in the chat. So cooperatives are often social enterprises. And within SECNA, we have about 80% not-for-profit structures and 20% for-profit, but you have to meet 5 global criteria to be a social enterprise. I'll leave it there, Henry, but happy to answer questions in the chat.
Thanks, Kylie. Please, if you've got your hand raised, jump in, or if you want to say something, jump in.
Well, it's quiet for a moment, so I'll jump in. Malcolm here. Excuse me. There is a certain critical size at which organisational methods have to change. It's going from the village to the town to the city, and people seem to be more happy in a smaller organisation where everything is accessible. And the larger the group is, the less accessible the policy is. And I wonder if that concept of localisation is the real key to having a kind of village-orientated mentality about what you do at a local level, but have some way of overlaying that with the context. For example, for emissions control, where what you don't emit won't make your life any better, but it could help making a lot of people who are a lot worse off than you better off. So it's building a mindset there, which is not continually expanding the use of non-renewable resources and so on, which, because if you look at the kind of groups we are in the activist movement, the small groups seem to be the ones that are most active. The big groups get dominated by administration, and so it and they maybe have good goals, but they don't necessarily get managed by appropriate consensus, because once consensus gets so big, it becomes very, very, very insensitive. So those are just sort of philosophical things to consider, and I'm struggling to come up with what I think is right. I like Schumacher's model. I think that's great, and also it's been hanging around for 50 years, for a long time. And the other book that I thoroughly recommend, if you can see it, is that one there, which was written by a guy called Jason Hickel, who is also connected with Extinction Rebellion, and it's called How Degrowth Will Save the World. And there's plenty of material like that around, and it's a great learning curve.
Melinda, you jump in, and then I'll put my hand up too. This is fun.
Hello. Look, for those who weren't in our group, I had a little rant about hemp and how it's going to save the world. Well, my world anyway. But on the back of the fact that a hemp industry would tie into, nursery and the growing industry, the building industry. It's so many industries and create so much work and sequester carbon and like blah, 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 could go on forever. What a lot of people don't know about hemp is it's fireproof and it's kind of flood proof as well. So when you think of all these climate changes and things that are happening with it, it's one of the biggest hacks I want to see is hemp replacing. It's only the insurance companies that are winning when they replace houses with like for like, and those products get ruined every year by fire or flood. Hemp will last 500 years, 1,000 years. So imagine if every house in Australia that got destroyed by natural was rebuilt with hemp grown in Australia. And then those houses will last for thousands of years and they'll stay in family generations. We won't be, that's kind of one of my favorite hacks for the housing issues we're having now. But as I mentioned, we're up in far north Queensland. The sugar farmers it's as simple as replacing the sugar farmer licenses with hemp growing licenses, and all the sugar mills are closing down. They just need to be repurposed into something more useful. So that was my little hack about it. Would just tie into not just local, but small local nodes, which I think we're all identifying that's the way local global works, is small nodes working globally in a symbiotic relationship. But yeah, that's what I've got to say. And thank you, whoever put in the ACRE link into the chat. It's going to be really useful for someone like me. So I love being here at NENA Chat. So thank you for listening to that.
Thanks, Melinda. It's so good to hear people working on hemp because it is incredible. Yeah, no, I'm loving this conversation and all the different things that people are bringing, and how do we do this? How do we communicate it? I think for me, one of the most things, and kind of following on what you were talking about, Malcolm, about localization can be so empowering. Like what I've found, there are so many people that, we went to school and some of us went to uni, most of us went to a job, and we're very used to kind of having someone else be the boss. We're in a big organization and we're used to somebody else calling the shots. And often we're really good at complaining about it. But then the actual act of kind of being in control and setting your own timetable and, being part of making decisions as a group is really, really hard. And so I find that localization as a concept appeals to a lot of people. But then the difficult thing can be, how to help people stay in it when it's difficult. And yeah, the kind of encouraging people that, empowerment and being part of a smaller group and being part of making your own decisions is worth it, even when it's hard. How do we help people move through? Because yeah, I sit on the board of a workers cooperative, and that's been really interesting to watch people finally be their own bosses, but then they're realizing that being your own boss is really hard. So yeah, it's so great to be in this room with all of you trying to work out what's the best way we can communicate that and keep people going.
And if I can just shift the focus slightly, using the example that Melinda gave about sorry, reading in the chat. No, I don't need to get distracted. Using this example Melinda gave about hemp and building materials, and one way to think about localization would be a structural policy shift as well, where the infrastructure for processing and creating building materials locally is actually identified, funded, research and development funded into it and supported. Because Melinda, you were saying there's only one place in New South Wales actually in Australia that processes hemp, and it's in New South Wales. So hemp from far north Queensland has to travel to New South Wales before it can come back. And it's the same with the food system. So like thinking about what we could do as consumers, producers, all people to say, we need a community composting facility. We need a community energy grid. We need we need a place where we can come together and bottle our jams and pickles. Yeah, I see you. And all of the kind of infrastructure that has not been even thought about at that, even at the municipal level, and how far we could go in terms of creating jobs, creating, producing more, and at the same time using less technology and less fossil fuels to do the work for us. It would be about decentralizing the infrastructure to allow that stuff to go on in a way that's less resource intensive. So that's what the localization vision is at that step above the kind of bottom-up projects. There are these kind of municipal or council or even state level structural shifts that I think we should be thinking about. I just wanted to add that. Bush Technic, you've got raising a hand, or Mama is.
There we go. Go.
Yeah, hi. I'm a person sitting next to Tali secretly. I just, in response to that, I was just thinking it would be maybe really interesting to be able to have some kind of centralized hub of models, like financial models, and in the chat there's some information about cooperatives. So, and obviously cooperatives are easier to find out about, but it would be great. Is there any such thing online, like a hub of really amazing different financial and governance and other different types of models that people could go to, like a library, and say, oh, look, here's one that could suit my situation? Because I think maybe that's one of the hardest things, is to find out how could you might have an idea to do something, and then you spend a lot of time and energy thinking, how could this work? But if you could go to a library of models, maybe that would help. Does anyone know of that?
Go ahead, Susan. Unmute yourself, please. Okay.
Thanks for giving me permission to unmute. Yes, so within NENA, I sit on the board of NENA, and we are creating a financial literacy and economic literacy hub. And one of the projects that I want to personally spearhead is exactly what you've asked for, and that is a gathering together of many different models, a glossary, so that people coming new, because our topic tonight is around how to make this go outside the group of people who understand these terms and get out to the mainstream. So a glossary for people that you chat with at a barbecue or whatever. And then from the glossary, putting together different models. So yes, that is a work in progress, or work about to begin. If anyone on the group tonight is a governance nerd and you like that kind of thing, please contact me and offer your skills or your ideas. But I think it's a gap. Thanks for identifying that as well.
Yeah, thank you for the question, and Susan for the response from NENA. I'm also just putting in the chat a link to the Localisation Action Guide, which is not Australia specific, it's international. And actually we'd love more examples from Australia. So if anyone does have examples that you can write, give us a little write-up and a link, we can add it to the Localisation Action Guide. But that is basically, a good example of what you're asking for, in terms of encapsulating different projects and models that have worked in places around the world, and we keep it up to date, which is a big job. And yeah, that could be good. Someone else is, Anisa, do you want to say what you put in?
Oh yeah, if people haven't come across the Commons Library, it's a Australian-based, well, Melbourne-based people, that have been trying to collect stories and writings from different activists, social change things. And I often find, if I'm like, has someone done this before? You just put it in the search tab for the Commons Library, and yeah, it's really exciting that they're collecting a lot of these things, because this is one of the interesting things for me that I've seen in my time doing this sorts of work. A lot of the ideas that we come up with, someone has started it at some point somewhere else. But because, there's just so much going on at all times, it can be hard to find out what's already been done.
Robin, did you unmute? Did you want to say something, Robin from Tea House?
No, I'm cool. Enjoying listening. Sorry about that. I should have.
No, no worries, not at all. Cool. Well, we are probably at time to wrap up. But it's good. It's actually a good note to end on because, or to start wrapping up on, I should say, because we have a few announcements from various organizations involved in the Localization Action Hub, Localization Hub, sorry, we are. And that one is, just this, obviously sign up for the NENA newsletter, which is you can do on the NENA website if you haven't done that. And from me, the other thing is June is, I'm going to call it World Localization Month, even though the actual campaign is worldlocalizationday.org. And if anyone would like, the purpose of the campaign really is to connect and demonstrate that localization is going on across the globe. And even though sometimes we feel small, there are examples all around the world of people doing this work. So worldlocalizationday.org, if you want to, the invitation is to host something like a film screening or a local food feast or something in your community to discuss localization, because the word is still very poorly understood. Even though we hear about the death of globalization, we don't hear about localization, and we need to hear about it. So worldlocalizationday.org is an invitation to run an event in June, or just a small thing, a dinner with friends, a local food feast or something. So those are the two things from me.
One more is that NENA is going to have a conference in person in October. And there's a call for proposals out. So I'm sure pretty much all of you might have something that you could talk about at the conference, bringing different people together. It is up in Queensland, so that's closer for some and further away from others. But I've put that in the chat. Oh, yep. And so's JP. Call for proposals open through June. And we also wanted to let people know about our next webinar, which is in another month from now, with the topic. What's our topic again, Henry?
Yeah, I can't remember how we worded it, but we'd like to talk about some of the structural barriers to localization initiatives. A lot of people identified things like zoning regulations or unhelpful, like struggling to find ways of accessing grants and funding, resourcing, volunteer-based stuff. So some of those like sticky or those nitty-gritty stuff we will address. It's hard to do that entirely, but because each place is different, but there are common themes. And Helena Norberg-Hodge from Local Futures will come and talk about, well, she'll address that, and she'll also talk about what we need to do to advance the localization movement more generally and in Australia and in your communities as well. So Helena will join us, and that will be a listed World Localization Day event as well. And Helena is a rock star. Thanks, JP. I agree. Thank you all. Yeah.
I think
That's yeah.
Well, and I think the last thing we wanted to do is we wanted to hear from everybody kind of what you're taking away from this session. And I guess also, if there are things that you want to talk more about. So maybe we do have a bit of time, which is great. So I'd love it if people wanted to come off mute and kind of say one thing that you've taken away from this discussion, and maybe one thing that you'd want to kind of continue talking about. But also feel free to write it in the chat. We definitely won't be able to hear from almost 30 of us. But yeah, especially if you haven't said anything yet, we'd love to hear your voice. Oh yeah, Andy.
Hey all. Yeah, I'm down here on Ewan country in Maria on the south coast of New South Wales. And yeah, thanks for having me. It's been an inspiring group to be a part of. And I think for me, we're a fairly big shire, 40,000 people, and there's there's a little bit going on. You know, there's plenty of good organisations doing good work, and my focus is on promoting local food and food security, which I think is one of the top things that requires attention, particularly moving back towards a local food system. But yeah, it can be isolating, and I think for me, there is pockets of good organisations doing good things, and we have an established farmers market. But there's a real, I guess there's a real mix in terms of the social and economic divide in people, and it's hard to sort of sometimes pull the threads together because of the size of the shire too. So yeah, I guess for me, one thing that I'm really struggling with is figuring out how I can. I'm feeling a real pull to sort of, I guess, promote localization as being the solution to a lot of the different issues that these organisations are addressing, and being able to pull a small community together to do this. And when I come on a call like this, I notice that there's nobody from my area that sort of the penny hasn't dropped on localization yet. And I think we're not even at that level of awareness yet, even though we're having the conversations about a lot of these issues in different ways, whether it be housing or food or health, etc., or the environment. But yeah, localization for me, and being able to, I guess, I've taken it upon myself to kind of be an activist in that space and move towards this, but I'm trying to make sure I'm equipped to be able to get that message across in a way that's going to land for people. So it's been useful in terms of talking about communicating to people on the level of their values and reaching them where they're at as well, because I think that's really important. A lot of people are just in survival mode, and they don't even have the time or space to consider these things. I mean, even myself, it's difficult to come on a webinar like this because I've got a young family. I'm hustling. I'm trying to earn money. I'm trying to keep food on the table, and at the same time, I also yearn to just slow down and sync up with the season and grow my own food as well, and be more connected to the land too, which there's not a lot of time and space for that at the moment either. So it's kind of, for me, I think it's filled my cup up, and thanks for having me, and I look forward to coming back again and seeing how I can be inspired to bring some of this gold back into the time and place that I'm in here now. So
Thank you so much, Andy. Thanks heaps, and stay in touch.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we hope to do. Does anybody else want to share what they're taking from this? And I did see in the chat that the Ballarat crew are going to keep talking about co-housing, so that's exciting. I'm personally really excited about the possibility of creating this space to, yay, Liz, to kind of get people to inspire each other, kind of tell the stories, and to kind of have that more in-depth conversation with people that live near you. So if it's working for you, please let us know.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, people are dropping off to go about their evenings. I think that's very fair enough. So I really appreciate everyone's attendance and contributions on a Wednesday evening, for staying around, for coming back. Really hope you'll join us again in 1 month on June 18th. It's another Wednesday evening. And yeah, please all stay in touch.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
See you all soon. Keep fighting the good fight.
I will stay on a little bit as well, if anyone wants to continue hanging around.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for the love hearts and the clappy hands.
And Maggie, I wasn't sure if you tried to say something, but the connection wasn't very good.
Oh, no, I was just saying, yeah, thanks everybody. It was fantastic. And it's just so inspiring to hear from people who are actually doing stuff and wanting to do stuff and are kind of on the same page. Yeah, so I'm very excited to get involved in the local group now.
Oh, good.
Fantastic.
Good to hear.